All right, so, picture this, right? You've spent weeks, maybe even months, planning this awesome family vacation for Lunar New Year, no less. Flights, hotels, excursions, the whole shebang. You've got this vision of a perfect stress-free getaway with your mom and your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's excited, right? And then, bam! You get to your destination exhausted from travel, and the hotel's like, oops, we only have one room for you.
Oh, no. Talk about a mood killer, right?
Total buzzkill. And that's exactly the kind of nightmare scenario we're diving into today. We're talking about Yellow Balloon, the travel agency, and what one customer went through on their Lunar New Year trip.
Yeah, this isn't just like a minor hiccup. We've been looking at news reports detailing some pretty serious allegations of, well, let's just say things didn't go as planned. And the customer, we'll call them whistleblower A, felt pretty misled, to say the least.
Misled is putting it mildly. So our mission today, we're going to break down exactly what went wrong on this trip, how Yellow Balloon responded, and what it all means for you as a traveler. Because, let's be real, nobody wants to end up sleeping in a hotel lobby when they've paid for a proper vacation, right?
Right, and this isn't just about one bad experience. It raises some bigger questions about accountability, customer service, and frankly, what we should expect when we entrust a company with our precious vacation time and money.
Totally. So let's get into the specifics. Whistleblower A reportedly paid what the news reports call a higher than usual price for this Lunar New Year package tour with Yellow Balloon. So right off the bat, there's a certain level of expectation there.
Oh, absolutely. You're not going for the budget option. You're paying a premium, so you expect a premium experience in return.
Exactly. But things went south almost immediately. They booked 2 hotel rooms, which makes sense. They were traveling as a family, a mom, a daughter, and whistleblower A. But when they arrived, only one room was available.
See, that's where the family aspect really comes into play. 2 rooms aren't a luxury in that situation. It's essential for everyone's comfort and privacy, especially with multiple generations traveling together.
And to add insult to injury, the tour guide's response was apparently something along the lines of, well, it's the holiday season. What do you expect us to do?
Wow, talk about passing the buck. As if the holiday season is some unforeseen circumstance they couldn't possibly have planned for.
Right. And can you imagine being told that after a long journey with your family looking to you to sort it out? It's the kind of response that instantly sets a negative tone for the whole trip.
And it really speaks to a lack of preparedness, Like they weren't equipped to handle the very predictable surge in travel during a major holiday.
And the result? Whistleblower A ended up sleeping in the hotel lobby. That's not a vacation, that's a disaster.
It's a complete failure to deliver on the most basic promise of a travel package, a place to sleep. And it just gets worse from there.
Sadly, it does. The report also details the cancellation of a prepaid, optional tour, an island-hopping tour in Cebu. We're talking $150,000, paid in advance.
And this wasn't just some random extra activity. The report emphasizes that it was a highlight of the package tour, so this was something they were really looking forward to, a key part of their vacation plans.
And to rub salt in the wound, they were apparently the only ones from their tour group left behind. Everyone else got to go island hopping while they were stuck in a cafe, watching their carefully planned vacation fall apart.
Oh.
I mean, can you imagine that feeling of isolation and disappointment?
Oh, it's heartbreaking. And it makes you wonder about the internal organization of the tour company. Like, how does something like that even happen? Was there a booking error, a miscommunication? It just seems so disorganized.
Totally. And the tour guide's response? Well, when whistleblower A asked about an alternative tour, the guide supposedly made a comment about them just picking tours based on internet pictures.
Oh, come on. That's so dismissive and unprofessional. A good tour guide should be helpful and understanding, not condescending.
Right. It just adds to the feeling of being completely disregarded. So naturally, whistleblower A wanted compensation for these major disruptions, the missing room and the canceled tour. And Yellow Balloon offered what?
Partial compensation, which, considering the severity of the situation, feels like a slap in the face,
It really does. Like, they're acknowledging there was a problem, but not taking full responsibility for the impact it had on the customer's experience.
And you have to wonder if they were hoping that a lowball offer might just make the problem go away.
And here's the kicker. Their stance and the actual amount of compensation kept changing throughout the process as whistleblower A pushed back. Imagine having to constantly fight for a fair resolution, explaining the same issues over and over again.
It's exhausting. It makes you feel like you're banging your head against a wall. And it's no wonder that whistleblower A ultimately settled, even though they felt they deserved a full refund just to get it over with.
And that's what's so frustrating. It's like the company is banking on the customer getting tired of the fight. As whistleblower A put it, the constantly shifting attitude was more offensive than the compensation itself. It was the wasted time, the mental and emotional toll of the whole ordeal.
It's like they weren't being heard, their experience was minimized, and that just adds another layer of frustration to the whole thing.
Now, we need to look at the bigger picture here. A consumer rights advocate weighed in on the situation and basically said, look, Yellow Balloon, you're a publicly listed company, you built your reputation on trust. Good customer service, especially when things go wrong, is non-negotiable. This advocate was particularly critical of Yellow Balloon's inconsistent and inadequate response to A's complaint. Why is that consistency so important?
Because for a publicly listed company, their reputation is everything. It impacts their stock price, their ability to attract investors, and ultimately their long-term success. If they're seen as unreliable or dismissive of customer issues, it can really damage their brand.
It's like you're not just dealing with the immediate situation, you're potentially jeopardizing future business. And we also have some insights from an ESG expert. So ESG, for those who aren't familiar, stands for environmental, social, and governance. It's essentially a framework for evaluating a company's sustainability and ethical impact.
Right. So the social part of that looks at how a company treats its employees, its customers, and the communities it operates in. It's about responsible business practices.
Exactly. And this expert pointed out the huge demand for international travel right now and how much trust people place in travel agencies to handle their trips. Their concern is that if Yellow Balloon keeps brushing aside these kinds of complaints and offering inadequate compensation, they're going to lose that trust and ultimately lose customers to more responsible competitors.
It's about more than just making money. It's about doing business ethically and building a sustainable brand. And honestly, in today's world, consumers are becoming increasingly aware of ESG factors and making purchasing decisions accordingly. So companies that ignore these issues do so at their own peril.
It's like you can't just focus on growth at all costs. You have to take care of the people who are already supporting your business, or you risk losing them.
Exactly. Short-term gains at the expense of customer satisfaction are a recipe for long-term failure.
So what did Yellow Balloon have to say for themselves? They did issue a statement expressing their sincere apologies for not understanding whistleblower A's perspective and admitting the initial compensation was insufficient.
Okay, that's a start, I guess. At least they're acknowledging the shortcomings.
Yeah, but it gets a bit tricky. They also mentioned adhering to international travel consumer dispute resolution standards in their handling of the case, which kind of begs the question, are those standards really enough?
Right. Meeting the minimum standard might not be enough to truly rebuild trust and demonstrate a real commitment to customer satisfaction. It sounds a bit like they're hiding behind bureaucracy.
And there's this interesting contrast with other news about Yellow Balloon. Their CEO, Jin-Guk Kim, has been talking about aggressive expansion strategies, specifically targeting the MZ generation with new tour packages and products. Sounds ambitious, right?
It does, but it also raises some red flags. Are they so focused on attracting new customers that they're neglecting the ones they already have?
Right. Like, are they putting growth ahead of basic customer service and satisfaction?
Yeah.
Just makes you wonder, if they're mishandling things like this now, what happens when they're dealing with even more customers?
It's a recipe for disaster. You can't build a loyal customer base if you're constantly letting people down and not addressing their concerns. And for the MZ generation, they're especially savvy about these things. They read reviews, they talk online, they're not going to put up with bad service just because a company has a flashy new product.
So to sum up, what are the main takeaways here? We've got the actual service failures, the missing room, the canceled tour. Then we've got the poor communication and dismissive attitude, particularly from the tour guide. And then finally, that inconsistent and inadequate compensation process.
Yeah, it's a trifecta of customer service fails. And it really emphasizes the importance of having clear, fair, and consistent procedures for handling complaints. It's not just about saying sorry, it's about demonstrating that you value your customers and are willing to make things right when you mess up.
And it's a cautionary tale for other travel companies, too. In an industry built on trust and reputation, neglecting customer service can have some pretty serious consequences.
Absolutely. It can lead to a loss of trust, damage to your brand, and ultimately fewer customers.
So to wrap things up, let's leave you with a thought to ponder. As a traveler, What are your priorities when choosing a company to handle your trip? Are you swayed by promises of exciting new experiences, or do you look for a track record of reliability and good customer service? Because as we've seen today, a dream vacation can quickly turn into a nightmare if the company you're trusting isn't up to the task. So do your research, read reviews, and choose wisely, because your time and money deserve better than a night spent in a hotel lobby.
Well said.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me. It's been a fascinating discussion.